Sanibonani emakhaya, dumelang kagai, lina la ka ke nna Angel Noko. Namhlanje silana ngimbambele ubaba ST Dlamini ku station sakhe esiyaziwa kakhulu silalelwa kakhulu umhlaba wonke. So lekhona le ke re tlobolela le awusi CARON. Usis CARON uze nestory sakhe esibuhlungu abaningi masizwile kuma social media ku TikTok yakhe, but namhlanje uthe baba ST ngifuna ukuthi ungilethe ku studio sakho ngizoshare le story futhi kubalaleli bakho ngoba abalandeli abakho azange ngimatshele le story lesi. So ufikile usis CARON uthi namhlanje ngifuna ukushare istory sami esibuhlungu somshado wakho lo uqeda ukuphela. Masilaleleni ukuthi yena uphethe ini namhlanje fonina. Sis CARON kunjani mama?
Khona nina ninjani?
Sikhona mama. Ngibiziwe lana ngibizela usiso omuhle ukuthi hey ngizohlala phansi nawe ngizwe ukuthi kwenzakalani empilweni yami or kwenzakaleni. Ungasitshela ukuthi usis CARON ubuyaphi? Uyakayi udula kayi ubaba ST uthe le station sakhe se accommodator wonke ama language. So mawufuna ukubulela bulela, mawufuna ukuthetha thetha, mawufuna ukukhuluma if you want to speak go ahead.
Ngiyabonga.
Ngibonga mina mama.
Mawuse ushilo igama lami uCARON. Umampurani CARON home. So ngize la to come and share my story.
Okay.
My story, actually, my journey began, it didn't begin then, but I will just start with where it begins.
Okay.
It was I think it was on the 28th of November, 2018. I was at work.
Okay.
And in the early hours of the morning, nothing was suspicious that my day was going to really turn so mixed up. I received a message on my cell phone. It was a WhatsApp group that was created by my cousins. And the WhatsApp group just popped out. And then when I read the WhatsApp group, the WhatsApp group said that it was written family affairs. When it was sent, then I opened it and it was saying, look, this WhatsApp group was created for you, says CARON. Everybody who is in this WhatsApp group knows something about your husband.
Wow.
They are not telling you. Everybody is talking behind your back. They talk about it and they say we should not tell her. And then it stopped there. And then it said again that your younger sister knows about it and all other family members. And it was created by my cousin, who is my aunt's daughter.
Yes.
At the instruction of my other cousin, who is my aunt's son. And then they pointed out to say my younger sister knows about that. So now I called all of them, but none of them picked up the phone immediately.
Yo.
It was only when I insisted and I called my younger sister, third time, that she answered the phone. And I asked her, I said, listen, they say you know something about my husband and that you guys are not telling me. And I find this in a WhatsApp group. What is going on? Like, what the hell is going on? What is it that is known? My younger sister asked me, she says, hey, sis CARON, where are you? And I'm like, I'm at work. She says, are you sitting down? I said, yes. What is happening? Why should I be sitting down? Get to the point. What is it? And then she hesitated. And thereafter she said, listen, they say Abuti who raped this child.
Ithi ngangeni emlomweni ngifuna ukulalela kahle ngizwe kahle le story. Ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi zonke lezi zinto mazenzeka zokucreate ama WhatsApp and all this musemsebenzini, were you still at work or musuphumile usekhaya?
I-WhatsApp group ngathi bayenze ebusuku. Mina ngiyibone ekuseni.
Okay.
Mase ngibule i-message yami, ifoni yami. Emsebenzini.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So in the morning, we were busy with my ex-husband preparing to go to work. So I was not on the phone. It was only when I arrived at work that I put the phone there, started doing some work, And thereafter I said, no, let me get my phone and check, because it was kept on saying twing, twing. Then I said, let me check it. Usually when I was with my husband, there was like, who do you talk to? And so I was not really attending. So it was only when I was at work that that WhatsApp group, which was already created, I then saw it at that time, around 10 o'clock, 11.
And how did you feel by that time,
My
seeing a
heart
group
was
created
pounding.
under you?
My heart was
What came into
pounding.
your
I was
mind?
very worried. I was very scared. I was like shocked. Okay, what is it? But when she told me that, you know what, your husband raped our younger sister's daughter, and I was like, okay, what? You know what, there was like, you know that lump that gets stuck on your throat and you don't know what to do. You can't even breathe.
You can't even
You
breathe
sit
or
down,
cough
but you
it
can't
out.
sit down. And I was beginning to sweat. Then I ran down the corridor to go and talk to my manager, my boss, to say, look, there's something that I've just been told right now. They say my husband has raped my younger sister's daughter. I need to get to the bottom of it. I have to go now, to go to Johannesburg, because we were in Pretoria, to go and ask the daughter, my younger sister's daughter, what has just happened. I rushed, get into my car, and I drove all the way to Johannesburg. Along the way, it was like, you know, Joburg, Pretoria. It can be long, it can be short. I think at that time it was the shortest distance. But along the way, I kept on saying, okay, God, what is this? But what is happening? And I'm like, okay, God, I'm asking you to please protect me. I can see now that my life is just going to take a different turn. Help me to be sane. Help me to not lose my mind. Help me not to get into depression. I was declaring strength
Positivity and
and
strength.
positivity. And I was also declaring that I'm going to rely on you solely and you alone.
Were you not tempted to call your husband along the way?
No, I was never tempted to call him. I just said, look, I need to go and hear from the child. So I went straight to the school, got to the principal, and every step of the way, the first person that I broke the news to was my manager. And I told her upfront, they say my husband raped my younger sister's daughter. When I got to the school, to the principal, the receptionist, then the principal, I said to the principal, I'm here with a very sad, traumatic story. I need to find out something. I've just been told that my husband has raped my younger sister's daughter. She's here at the school. I'm asking you to please, let's find out from her. Now the principal, because they have rules, you know, about the school, they have to protect, you know, they're the custodians of children when they're at school. So she has the responsibility to protect that child, even from me, even from the parent. If you are a parent, you come in this kind of fashion that I was at, and then you then say you're asking for your daughter, or your son, there's a possibility that the school may actually stop you from confronting the child because they have to protect the child. So she said to me, look, what I'm going to do is that I'll call the child, and then I'll talk to the child in a separate room, and then after speaking to the child, then I'll call you. Ne? And then she kept on looking at me, and I could tell she was just trying to check whether I have a gun or something, or whether I was going to harm the child. But I think she just had to make sure that the child was safe, and I was also in control of my own emotions. Then she called the child. The child came in. She asked the child in that room, and the child told her, confirmed. And then when she got out of there, the child was in the principal's office. I was in the staff room, and then she said, come out. When I came out, she said, listen, the child says, yes, it's true.
Wow.
Now, my heart was no longer racing. I don't know what was happening. I was just like shaking, and I was like, then I got there. I already know what she said. So I just felt so sorry for her. And I was like, I don't know. And then she said, look, baby girl, tell Auntie CARON what you've just told me. And the child said, in her very fragile voice, and she didn't really go into detail. She just said, yes, Papa did this to me on this date and all that. So we asked her a couple of questions, like when was it, what had happened, and she then described that, no, they were going to drop clothes in Mamelodi. So what happened is that a friend of ours had given us her house to stay in because it was closer to Pretoria town in work. So we were relocating to go and stay in that house during that time. And then my ex-husband was taking our clothes to the house, moving things one by one because we didn't organize a full-blown, what do you call it, remover. Yeah. So now, after that, then the principal, we had a conversation to say, where to from now? And I said, look, I'm going to the police station right away. So then I took the child. I said, baby girl, listen, you know what had happened is wrong. I will have to protect you against whoever did this to you. And then we're going to have to go to the police station and report this. Are you okay?
How old is the child by that
11.
time? 11.
I think she was 11 years.
So
yeah, she was 10.
10
Because she was
years.
9 when she was raped in 2017. And then it was 2018, so she was 10.
Still young.
Yeah, 10 going for 11.
And as a wife, did you believe that your husband can do such
You know
act
what?
towards the
For some
child?
reason, I believed that the child was telling the truth because what was the reason for the child to lie? And what was the point of my family to form up a WhatsApp group to tell me
they
about
can't
it?
just say
And
something
the
that they
voice
don't have proof.
In my younger sister's phone call was telling me that everything was just it. So it was a series of confirmation. It is true. It is true. It is true, and it was up to me to believe it.
Sure.
You know. So I drove with the child. As we were driving to the police station, guess what this child says to me? She says to me, because I was crying. You know, it was very traumatic, and I was also trying not to break down because
You
for
had to
her
stand
sake,
strong for
her
her.
sake. And she says to me, she says, Mamukulu, I'm really sorry that I did not tell you. Ne? And for me, when she said that, was
A confirmation that
that really
my
this took
husband
place.
did that. Yeah.
But there was another confirmation as well that I felt.
Sure.
She was now connecting with me for being the adult that believed her up instantly.
Who was connecting to you? The
The
child.
child. Like there was just divine connection of saying, in you, I found somebody who's going to care for me
And protect
and
me
protect
more.
me.
And you did exactly
And I
that.
did exactly that. So we went to the police station, and at the police station, I told them that I'm here. I brought this child to open a case. And then they took us to the victim empowerment, but the child protection unit or wherever they, and then the child gave the statement. And then that is when the detail of what actually happened was then narrated. I could listen. I was also just pacing up and down because I was like thinking, what am I going to do the day? How am I going to do that? So that we opened the case, and then they said they will conduct the investigation. They'll send us the case number, and I took the child, reassuring her that everything is okay and taking her back to the house. When I took her to the house, I arrived there, and then my daughter-in-law were staying in the cottage outside in our yard. And then in the house, there were other children. I still don't remember really very vividly in terms of who was there. But I just remember that I spoke to my daughter-in-law to tell her that this is what has just happened. While I was preparing to go back, another phone call comes in. And then my younger sister tells me that, listen, you have not even heard half of what was happening.
Wow.
Talk to your adopted daughter, because all these years, Abude has been sleeping with her.
Wow. Balaleli, niyazizwela ukuthi umama CARON udlule ebuhlungwini, isitori sakhe sibuhlungu kakhulu. Nami ngiyumzali, ngiyosisi Angel noko, ngiyezwa ukuthi mina mengeke ngikhona ukuyimela into eso. but kukhona abafazi laba bakhona ukumela izimo lezi zi-above their power. So sisachubeka silalele le story ukuthi kwayenzakalani kusuka masathola umntwana esikolweni. Hlala lapho ungashifti. Le station lesi is for you, me and the nation. Mama CARON, sifuna ukwazi ukuthi step number 2. So manje uqala kuba umntwana uqala kuba open kuwe. Where to from here? From lapho like la uphelele khona kwenzakaleni? Uphume nomntwana kwenzakaleni maceda ukukutshela lisuke lapho naya kuphi? Kukhona ama steps lawa wathathile or not?
The next step after I had to go and open another case for my adopted daughter.
Wow.
At the police station.
Daughter kwenzakaleni ngaye?
She was also being raped by the man. And
the same man,
my ex-husband, was actually sleeping with her in our house. Sometimes even when I was there. So now I opened 2 cases on that day, on the 28th of November 2018, 2 cases. Now I had to leave them in Johannesburg and go and fetch this man because I was the one who had the car. We were driving together to work. He works not an office away from me. So I had to go and fetch him. We go home. But as I was driving back to Pretoria, back to work, I had to phone some family friends to say to them that, listen, guys, this morning I was just being told that the man did 1, 2, 3.
Sure.
And therefore, I need you to come to the house because there's no way I'm going to break this news on my own and tell him that.
You needed support.
They were so shocked. But they came. So I fetched him from work and then we went home to Mamelodi. And then the family arrived. Then we confronted the man. And then, and it was like I was like scared, angry, mixed up. They were very shocked because when I told him to say that, look, I've just been told that you have done 1, 2, 3. You've raped my younger sister's daughter a year ago, and then that you are continuously also raping our own stepdaughter.
Were you brave to tell him that?
Yes.
What was his response?
He was sitting there and his face was very cast down.
It showed that there's something.
It showed that there was something. And because he's a very composed man, he then took time. He takes time to respond.
Strength.
Yeah. So that you don't see even his emotions. Yeah. And then he then blamed me for calling these people, blamed me for opening the cases without talking to him first. And I said, but I could not talk to you because according to the law,
this is emergency.
This is an emergency. You have a responsibility to report a matter like this to the police once you know about it. And then I think it was very clear to him that I already believe the children.
Yes.
And I don't even know myself what was I thinking was going to happen, except that I was hoping that he would admit. I was very naive, actually. Who would admit to something like that? So anyway, that the family came and then he denied everything. And then while we were still talking about the family, and the other person that I called was when I was driving from Joburg back to Pretoria, I phoned the senior pastor at the church. And I told him, I said, Baba, I've just been told that my husband did 1, 2, 3 a year ago. And I opened the case. I'm asking you to come so that we can talk to him because I don't think I can handle this.
Wow.
The pastor said to me, Lendo le iyakudala. Why we buza manje?
Hayibo.
Uthe kwenzeleni nini? Ngathi lo muntu lo bathu uhlungulile umntwana last year ngo-2017 bangitshele namhlanje. Wathi, why are you reviving dead ghosts?
It's like he's taking his side mind.
He was already taking side that this thing, if it has happened last year, why are you reviving it? I knew then that I was not going to get help from him. And I just said, okay, let me just forget about. And then there was another pastor that I had already spoken to as well. And she indicated that she was going to come. But during that time while we were talking, my daughter-in-law, I think, leaked the story and told the other children. Now, my own daughter was now attacking the adopted daughter.
Did you confide the story to the daughter-in-law?
A daughter-in-law only. I don't know who leaked the story. Now there was chaos at home. This one was going to kill these other ones. They are coming into our house to destroy everything. And now we are in Pretoria. That day,
Oh, God.
that day was a terrible day. Now we had to speak to them over the phone to say, please, don't do what you're doing. Please calm down. And I think when the father was speaking to them, they were able to calm down. Me, I don't think they were even listening to me. But he was now getting more strength to say, you see, you've ruined the family. You see what the children are doing. I knew at that time that I was now going to be in trouble.
Sure.
Because if now the children are taking side, supporting him by blaming the other children, that means those other children needs protection.
Sure.
Now I had to think about what to do. Yeah. So to cut the long story short, I think during that those weeks, those days, we had to actually take decisions. Like these children have to go and stay with my younger sisters because they can't live in the house. My adopted daughter had to go and stay with some friends because she can't live in the house because there was chaos. Yeah. And everybody who was on my side of the family had to vacate the house because now it was war. It was my family, me and my family against him and his children and his family. It was crazy.
Division,
So now,
that division.
but I think during those days, I was also, because the police were doing investigations, I was trying to get the truth out of him. Like all those days. Now, while I was still getting the truth out of him, my family then sent a voice audio recording. That audio recording, they said to me that, you know what, my younger sister's son, who was aware of what the man was doing. One day when I had traveled, he placed a tape recorder in my adopted daughter's room so that he can catch my husband sneaking into my adopted daughter's room, and they got him.
Sure.
I listened to the recording, my husband forcing himself to have sex with my adopted daughter.
Sure.
I could hear everything.
Still.
Everything.
Yes.
Telling this child, there's nothing wrong holding me. Put it in. Turn this way. Are you not feeling cold? It is horrible.
Bamamedi, late kwela story ke se se bohloko se. Ana wena uhleli no baba unjani endlini. Check abantwana bakho. Sizwa imihlola la ngaphandle. If uyalalela izitori zabafazi uzozwa ukuthi na badlula ebuhlungwini. Sesi CARON, story sa gago se bohloko. Ore monna a phetola ngwana mo phetola, are there's nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong.
Touching me.
It's not against the law. He says that. It's not against the law. Hold me.
Yo. Ngwana na sa kwa gale Allah.
The child is just saying, It's a horrible audio.
Yeah.
It's really a horrible
and
audio.
Still ge monna wa gagwe leng your husband hearing that voice audio o ganeditše.
He denied the audio. And then he was helped by the fact that artificial intelligence also came up with some things because people's voices could do. So he then went to say that this tape of yours, because sometimes I'll confront him and play the tape. I remember there was one night when I got the tape, I put it on in the DVD and I played it the whole house. He could hear his own voice and he was just saying, "What is this?" I said, "It's you. Ne? It's you."
Facial expression yakhe
You can tell. that he was
Ukuthi,
guilty,
yeah.
but he was horrified that he was caught like that.
Do you think was because ukuthi angavumi ukuthi uyenzile this thing, was it because of the church le nibe nisontayo mekumuntu ane-position esontweni or yini? What was preventing him ukuthi a-admit ukuthi yes, I did this and it was wrong, help me to get out of this, or ukuthi ngixolise? What was preventing him to just admit ikhona ukusolveka kangcono le issue?
I really don't know. One is that I could tell that he did not trust me.
Sure.
No matter how hard I tried to make him believe that I would walk this journey with him on condition that he accept his wrongs and he's repenting, and there will be some kind of reparation that must be put in place, because it was not going to be like scot-free. But I don't think he trusted me. So he was always denying everything. And he was also not working together with me, because I remember that on the during the first week when the news broke out and I handled it in that way. Now God would minister to me to say, look, there are scriptures in the Bible that you can meditate on that will save you guys. And that was Psalm 25. Psalm 25 is a redemption psalm. It was talking about the fact that you will not be put to shame if you are remorseful. If you've done everything that you've done without planning it, that God will not put you to shame. But if you hope in me, I will save you. And I told him, I said, you know what? I was sleeping. The word of God said, meditate on this prayer. And then one day he will come back having a whole book of scriptural reading from the Roman Catholic Church, which he said now the Roman Catholic Church sisters, they were going there, they say we must pray. And that's when I begin to believe that, you know what, this man is as guilty as charged, because he was going all over the place looking for things to save himself. He was not even believing in the God that he was saving at that point in time. Because our prayers, he was always mixing them up. Then he started going to ZCC. Then I think he was even consulting traditional doctors. And the first thing that I also told him, I said, but why are you asking to be defended by a lawyer if you're not guilty?
Yes, because
the word of God says that I'm your advocate. Why don't you trust God?
what
You know,
in mind?
because with your truth, he would not listen to me. And I remember sometimes he will also talk to his lawyer. I think he said his lawyer told him that I want to put him in prison. Wow. I said to him, look, I don't want to put you in prison. It is your deeds that will put you in prison. If you raped a child, if you have been raping your own adopted daughter, you will definitely go to prison. It is not me. It is the law. It is your guilt acts that will put you into prison, not me. And then a wedge was now beginning to grow between us, even though I would go to court with him to support him and all that. But just to cut even the long story short, the docket actually, he also tried to steal the docket.
Wow.
Because the docket disappeared. They broke into the investigating officer's office, and then they stole the docket.
Wow, just
But
to make
luckily,
everything disappear.
Luckily, the docket was actually photocopied and scanned and saved. So they were able to reproduce it. Then the lawyer, who was also acting like a criminal himself, who wanted me to sign statements that says that I have bipolar, so that if I had signed that I have bipolar, what was going to happen is that they were going to take it to the court to say, look, this woman is not in a good mental state, and therefore a person in her mental state is not suitable to open a case. She's imagining things, delusional.
Sure.
I refused all those kinds of things. And when I refused all that, that is when he believed that, no, I was going to put him in prison. I said, listen, it is not me. You have put yourself in prison, you know. But I was also able to say, look, the in marriage, they say for better, for worse. So this was our worse. What do I do during our worst? What I do is that I cannot deny him the things that he's entitled for, like paying for the bail because he needed money to pay for the bail. We paid for the bail. Support. If people can accompany and go and see their criminal brothers in prison when they're wrong, what stops me from extending a human right support to him? Because every human being needs to be talked to. So I was actually there emotionally for him so that he can get to a state where he understands the implication and the magnitude of what he has done, and then therefore own up to what he has done. I tried to be there for him. Obviously, he will say a different story, but I believe that I was there. And I don't need anybody to say, you were not there. I know I was there.
But
Because
how was it to be there for two people emotionally, and especially kulo muntu lo amoshe umntwana kangaka? How did you divide yourself in that situation?
it was really difficult. I was torn. I was torn apart. But the fact that this child was with my younger sister, I could always speak to my younger sister and say, listen, look after this child. Make sure that you guys tell the truth, and make sure that you protect the child.
Yeah.
Because if you don't protect the
Can
child,
be
anything can
manipulated,
happen.
yeah.
She can be manipulated and all that. But he was claiming that the child was manipulated. And I'm like, and during the time when the case was taking place, to be honest, I never asked the child about what actually happened. The only time that I spoke to the child about the case was when we were at the principal's office. After that, I never asked her what had happened. And she actually said it. She said, you know what, 7 years on, you still don't know exactly what happened. And when she told me what happened, still not the full story, it was like this man has been attempting to rape her even before the actual rape, when she was in grade 5.
What?
Yeah. And the incident that this child talked about, I was in the kitchen making breakfast. This child had an assignment book to sign. I said to her, no, while I'm making breakfast, go and get daddy to sign it.
Sure.
When the child went into the bedroom, the man took the child, put her on the bed, and was about to rape her. I was in the house.
Not seeing that.
That man, you know, at some point you'll think that I don't understand what kind of temptation would possess a man like that. And, you know, it just that, you know, my memory is very foggy.
Yeah.
But when I sit and remember and try to recall what was happening in our life, I remember at some point we used to have cell group meetings, and this man was always ministering about temptation. But the way he was ministering about temptation, I didn't agree with him. It was like he was
protecting those
and he
who
was
do
also
wrong
saying
things.
it's okay
Yeah.
to be tempted because you will be redeemed. And I used to say to him, I said, you must recall that when we talk about temptation, God says you can't put yourself in a position where you will be tempted so that you can say, I will save you. We will never be saved. If you know that you have a weakness around women, avoid them.
Sure.
And that is why I love about Islam. Islam says, it says, because women and men get tempted when they are in one place. When a men go and
men
pray
one
there,
side,
women one side, because they are acknowledging the weakness of being.
Yes.
You know,
And in
it's
our Christianity, they don't do
no.
that. We mix.
We say we will control our feelings and all that, and it's not possible because you see, he got tempted, he could not control his edges, and then look at where it led him to. But it's because, and I had to believe that because in 1996, my husband was arrested for he was accused of having raped my friend's child.
Your husband.
That case, yes, my ex-husband.
Okay.
That case was thrown out of court because there was no evidence. So now, a couple of years on, you are being accused of the same thing. That is why I also had to believe that it's not possible that they can accuse you of something like this twice.
go ra re ke monna o e leng gore o ntseile monna o a tlwaetseng o di a o te tlwaeditse ntho eo jwale modimo o emetse ngwana jwale through
Angicabanga
wena
ukuthi i-pedophile. My husband bekuyi-pedophile. It just that besingambambi. Besingayazi because zonke isikhathi beyahlala surrounded by abantwana. He liked
ungathi
girls
kumuntu
so
othanda
much.
abantwana
Yes.
but abantwana laba
Yeah.
selective
Yes, they are selective. We have keep
Bathanda
the
intombazana
vulnerable
kuphela.
ones, especially those ones who depend. Because what he will do, he lures them into taking them to movies and all that.
Kube ungathi
Then
uthandwa
ubathanda
abantwana.
abantwana. And then he gets them slowly. When they get hurt, he will come and bandage them. And then as he bandaging them, he's loosening them. So that is why maybe some of these children will not come out to talk because they would have made themselves available without knowing. And therefore, when they come to say, this man has actually assaulted, violated me, how are you going to say it when you have been going to the movies together with him? When you have been asking him, financially, I used to always have a problem with him. He would be buying children things that are unnecessarily. Like, where do you get endless money? Where you just buying people uniforms, school books, movies,
look
and all
good.
that? Where family just come to visit, the house is full, and then you are always happy when you are around girls.
so he was trying to ukuvala maphutha wakhe indirect
Kahle. And it was mentioned in the sentencing verdict that this man was actually buying them. He knew what the children wanted. That is why he could. Because even after raping this child that day, on their way back, went to buy her sweets and everything and promised to buy her things.
Yo, siyasishaya isikhathi sethu sesizoba ne-part 2 again sizochubeka la phambili kwamanje sizobamba kancane sesavala abalaleli bazoba ne-part 2 isikhathi sizobona ukuthi sothola isikhathi nini into engifuna ukuyazi mama Caron ukuthi labantu laba basesontweni njengoba abasifundisi bazi everything bona ufile kanjani mase bazi story and irespond yabo iba opposite to what you expected them to say or to do or to like kaningi sifuna ukuthi mawureport esontweni ba acte positively towards the issue but laba kubonisa ngathi they were against you. Did you feel ungathi they failed you dignity yakho ayisekho how
The church
ufile njani nje?
The church was very lenient, to be honest, because when the pastor came to take us for counseling, it was counseling about communication skills, how you talk as couples and everything. It was not dealing with the fact that we're dealing with a man who has raped my younger sister's daughter. And therefore, I expected them to have, they were supposed to ask him to say, look, you need to step down from your leadership roles.
Yes.
That's the first one. Number two, you need to actually, after you step down, they needed to take him through the church discipline.
Yes.
They didn't do that. In fact, the
They
only
left
time
him to
they left him to
continue with his
continue,
duties in the church.
My heart was so painful because
Seeing
I
him
was
preaching there, knowing what he has
praying
done.
for people. You know those altar calls when they say to people, come so that
Yes,
we can lay hands on you. He took his dirty hands and laid
lay
on
hand-
people. That is contaminating the house of the Lord. I told the pastor, I said, but this person is contaminating the house of the Lord, serving Holy Communion. The case was opened. The police were investigating. This man serves Holy Communion. I told you what he has done. So you needed to say to him, step down. From now onwards, take a back seat. Because with him, he was now using the church to now cover himself. Like he was really, like you can actually feel his desperation to be in the forefront because he was trying. I think he was also desperate to say, see me as a good person, painting that picture of
Nibone
a
ukuthi
saint.
ngimshade
nibone
umfazi
ukuthi-
o-wrong lo
Yeah.
wangisukelayo nina nibona
Yes.
kahle
I
angiyenzanga
mean, we
nix.
fought one day and he beat me up so badly. I was blue eye and everything. It was on Thursday. On Friday, I remember we went to hospital that very night. The pastor said I should not open a case because then we can talk about it. I mean, they were able to talk to me about what to do, but they were not able to hold him accountable for what he has done. And that was frustrating me. And then after he beat me up still, they allowed him to serve Holy Communion until I then took the photos of where he beat me up. I threw them in the WhatsApp group of the church and say, this man who's busy praying
Giving
for you, this is
Holy
what he did for me. Because they did not know.
Sure.
Now they then said to me, I'm putting the church into disrepute. They cut me out of the WhatsApp group.
Sure.
And I think now even people started looking at me as a very bad woman who's talking badly about her husband. And I felt really very isolated from there onwards. I felt like, look, this church they're hypocrites.
So do you feel ukuthi the church failed you kule story sakho ne-husband yakho, Sis CARON?
They failed themselves, to be honest. I don't think that I expected anything. I think God had a plan for me to really see people for who they are. They failed themselves because they failed to witness and vindicate the gospel. You know, how do you harbor and protect somebody who has done something like that? Remember, the church punishment is not a punishment that is very condemning. It's a punishment that says we want to redeem you. But you need to redeem the person, and the person, you need to hold them accountable. The reason why there's redemption, and now let me use your own gospel now, which used to be my gospel. The fact that Jesus had to die, that is, he had to be punished for the sins. You can't just be redeemed like that. Something has to give.
They're helping him to sin more now.
Yes.
So from there,
So from there onwards, I think COVID happened, and then we were in isolation. I was like very thankful for COVID, but it was a very lonely journey because then you are kept out there. I think it helped everybody to say, look, let's just go into our own spaces. And then moving forward, it was now the case had to resume in 2021. The child was going to court by, my younger sisters were accompanying the child to go to court. And then I now also joined them in going to court. The first 2021, it was very difficult for me to even go to court with them because, excuse me, I was also angry with my younger sisters for having not taken a bold step against this case. So sometimes it was even difficult to look at them, to be in the same room. The other times I was also feeling the pain of this child. It was just really difficult. I was also isolating myself to some extent, but providing really support because I will call them, you're going to court, make sure that you go there, make sure you tell the truth. It was only after me and my ex-husband had decided that you know, we did decide.
While this case is still
while
on,
this case was still on,
he wanted to
he
be away
wanted
from you.
you are evil, you want to kill me, you are a witch. You know, he called me all sorts of things I've never seen, but I've never seen anything like that to say, you know. But every time when he would say these horrible things, painful as they are, but they were a vindication for me to say, for as long as you see me as an evil person because you are being accused of rape, it means you did it.
Yes.
Ne? And then for the mere fact that you can use me to defend yourself, that means you never actually valued me. So I was beginning to regret everything. Exactly. So it was like, I was like, you know, God was working this 7 years with me, to be honest. And I enjoyed those moments where I would spend time with God and some of the friends who would really comfort me. Some of the friends who would turn against me as well, because friends as well, they just can't stand your pain.
Yeah, they have their own problems.
They have their own problems as well. But they also don't want to talk about the fact that you have dealt with a case like this the way you have. So I don't know whether it was envy
Some they say
or
you are
whether
wrong, some they
accusations left,
Sure.
right, and center. Sometimes you break down in the middle of nowhere. They tell you, don't cry. And I'm like, who the hell are you to tell me not to cry? Do you even understand what I'm going through? I collapsed in meetings.
sure
Yes.
because of
I
stress and
got
depression.
disoriented, my dear. I'll be driving, going to Pretoria, and in the middle of nowhere, I don't know where I am.
Sure, you black
Yes,
out.
I just blacked out. It was really a tough journey. And I could not do counseling because counseling for me, I was like, no, I cannot expose myself to psychiatric counseling
Yes.
because it was going to be used against me and the case of bipolar. And therefore, I had to protect myself. So it was like I was self-affirming, self-counseling, self-protecting
Yes. Noli
myself.
knows you felt alone in this story.
Nekele one. Bengi woto.
Sure.
It was only me and God and a few people who would be. But friends, it's really difficult. I think that the pain that we go through as women, we should not rely 100% on friends. I don't think we have friendship that can endure the pain that we go through as well, because it's just too much.
wa tseba se se CARON re bethilwe ke nako ke a bona ba nsaenela ka mo le gore nako ya rena e tšhabile wa tseba ke bona modimo ka gare ga situation e o bolelang ka yona e fetileng go yona ke bona modimo a iphile matla mo e leng goreng go ba le di-lawyer di mo support-a your ex-husband gore go lahlega di-dockets ka mo go e ba le di-family tše e le gore ne di kgomotse e tswelela morago ngwana o modimo na mo thekgile and then ga a šomiša le wena gore o mo thekge ke mang mo lefaseng a ka emelang ngwana a sa mo belegang ka madi ke tshepa gore bamamedi bafuna ukwazi ngelinye ilanga ku-part 2 ukuthi lo mntwana lo mmelayo lo kungasi umntwana wakho wegazi kumntwana womoya I believe kumntwana wakasisi wakho bazofuna ukwazi ukuthi umama wakhe ukuphi uhlaleleni wena mawuba ne-stress uyama up and down why kudiscovera wena uzidiscovera uwe lamashangani against we-rape where was the mother yena wazile or kanjani konke lokho abalaleli bazokuzwa ku-part 2 sishiwe isikhathi abamemeli bethu lina laka ke nna Angel Noko ditaba ke tše bohloko monna o reipile gomme ga re tsebe gore go ditaba tše ntše go tsamaya monna o feletše ko kae le ngwana o ga re tsebe gore na o sa phela goba ga a phele na le gore gape o godile goba a gola na tše ka mokana ga tsona re tlo di kgwetša ka go part 2 jwale kere wena o le mosadi ka ntlong o dutse le monna o jwang a na wa ba checka bana ba gago ba baninyana na a na wa dula le bona na o ba botsiše gore na o le sale right na a na o build a relationship e leng gore bana ba gago ba ka go botša le tše di fitlhagetseng tše wena o sa di boneng ke o se se CARON o be a sepela ka gare ga ntlo a dira dijo ba swarana ka matsogo tseleng a bona monna wa gage a rekela bana di-sweets a ba iša di-moving a sa bone yena and ke tshepa gore le yena se se CARON monna o go bontšha o ka re na mo bontšha lerato le le tseneletseng e kereke le yona le ko e le gore e mo feitše ya ema le monna a beya diatla tša gage tše di tšhila a rapelela batho ba kereke a buša gape a fa batho holy communion kgante re dira jwang ka dikerekeng tša rena ga re ithuteng go emela nnete baruti ba rena ga re thuteng go emela nnete re eme nneteng gobane ba bangwe ba ile gore ba theleditše story se and ba mo tseba gore na tsena kereke eo ke tshepa gore le bona ba tlo swaba gore gante kereke ya rena wa e feitše se se CARON ditaba tše dintšhi di tlo tla ka go part 2 re kgone go tseba gore na ngwana o kae mme wa ngwana o kae o gomoletšeng mme wa ngwana se se CARON yena why a choositše gore a emele ngwana o iseng wa gage wa madi ke eng e mo file maatla a ba wa feletša re kgone go tseba gore na lenyalo la bona go bontšha o ka re le fedile ka lebaka la gore o fela re ex-husband ga a sa re my husband tše ka mokana ga tšona ke sa botšheletša ke re di tlo hwetšagala ko part 2 nna le sesi CARON re lebogela sebaka se se ka lebala gore ke swaretše ntate ST Dlamini ge yena ntse a tsamaya a ile go homotša ba bangwe ba ditaba tše bohloko tše ile reng ba nyaka go di tliša mo ba bangwe a ba brave enough go tla ba tlo shera ditaba tša bona jwale ntate ST o rile ntshwarele jwale ke tle ke kgone go bonana le tše ka mokana ga tšona ke tla boa nna ke le Angel Noko le sesi CARON ke ra sepela sesi CARON mantšu a gagwe a go tswalela o ka reng
How ke leboga this opportunity ya gore ke share my story. The main purpose really is to say to women, you need to stand up for your rights. You should not be protecting a man who can violate a child. And the criminal justice system, if you follow it to the T, it really can protect you. This government has got policies and that works, and there are police officers out there who are prepared to defend you.
go tšwa go nna Angel Noko le sesi CARON ke re bye bye
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
ra leboga
Ra leboga.
the rest is tla tla ko part 2
Di tla tla ko part 2.